So I missed a couple days. Well, I missed yesterday. Um, that doesn't matter. I'm just gonna do videos whenever I can. I've been pretty busy lately, last couple days here. Was thinking about tackling the subject of religion, which what do they say? You're never supposed to talk about politics or religion or what's the other one? I probably won't have much to say about politics, but let's talk about religion. Um, so I'm just gonna talk about my experience with religion, I guess. And when I say religion, what I mean is like organized systems of uh, congregating and thinking, I guess. um, all right, so uh, let's see. I mentioned that I had a 20-year stint in the Christian religion, and um, I suppose since getting out of that about 4 years ago, I feel like my heart wasn't in it. Maybe up to like 6 years ago or so, but I finally ended up leaving it after about like 4 years ago, which was a hard thing. It was difficult. I felt like I was maybe leaving God at the time, and I've since then realized that that wasn't the case, but it certainly felt like I was detaching from a foundation that I felt like was holding me up at the time. Um, so, what do I want to say about it? Uh, I think when I first left it, I felt kind of upset toward it, and I think at times I find myself struggling a little bit with Christianity or Christians. The reason being, I tend to detect a certain amount of arrogance among Christians, and I really feel that when I was a Christian, um, it wasn't like arrogance was promoted, but it's almost like it was kind of built in. This whole idea that Christianity is the truth and it's the way, and all the Gentiles need to be saved, so we as Christians need to go save them. Almost like America. America is the land of the free, home of the brave. So we need to go save all of these underprivileged countries and whatever. So politics. Oh, we did throw a little in there. Um, I personally feel that my Christian experience led me into a lot of intolerance, and I found myself separating myself from uh, others who are not Christian. I found myself after several years not being able to really feel like I could relate to others who were not of my particular denomination. And I don't really think that's what Jesus had in mind. And the whole thing about not judging others, even though I would probably preach that or teach that or agree with Jesus on that subject, I think in practical terms that was not a reality for me. I think that I was very judgmental of others. Just seemed like it was built in to the way things were being taught. So, what I want to say about a lot of organized religions, and I'll even take this beyond Christianity at this point, a lot of organized religions, whether they're Wicca or Satanism or Christianity or Buddhism or any kind of organized, what's the word, like anything with like doctrine or dogma tends to promote a certain kind of club mentality. I feel like you need to be a part of the club. And so anyway, what I want to say is religion is kind of like a finger. I've heard this analogy and I think it works very well. Religion is supposed to be a finger that points at the moon, meaning it's like a vehicle that points at what's important, which would be God or the universe or Great Spirit or I don't know, whatever words you use for her. So what can happen, and what I find often happens, is that people who are in religions, and myself included, end up just like spending all their time looking at the finger. Alan Watts says that they sit around sucking the finger instead of looking at the moon. And so, yeah, that became a problem for me. I'm just throwing that out there. I spent too much time, and as much as I didn't want to, like I really tried to be authentic and genuine to myself. I really tried to keep it all simple and focused, God-centered. Somehow religion just has a way of infiltrating everything. Churches, all these board meetings and strategies and evangelisms in a box and programs and all that. Politics, organizational structure, conferences, all these things that are supposed to make the machine work just end up becoming this finger that's so prominent that it's the only thing you seem to be able to see anymore. And so when you try to see the moon, it's like there's this big ass finger in your fucking face. Pardon my French. Although Paul did swear in the Bible. Anyway, I guess what I want to say then is that's not necessarily saying that organized religions are like all bad, and it's not necessarily even saying that my experience in one was wrong or that I should not have gone through that experience. It's just saying that there seem to be a lot of problems that occur. And I think most people that I know who are in organized religions would agree. And they probably would like to change those things. But after so many years, I just realized I just couldn't change it. Like, I felt like it was deeply affecting my experience with Great Spirit. So I decided to leave. That's simple. And since then, I feel like my experience has grown to become much more flourishing and authentic than it was before. So what else did I want to say about that? I've also learned, probably more recently, when I used to think back, I was like, I would feel upset that I spent so many years in a Christian religion and all that I had to go through and all the ways that it impacted me negatively, and some of the experiences I had were actually just really terrible. But now I've realized, I think that Great Spirit took me through that. I think that was the experience that I was supposed to have. I think that God was giving me a perspective. He was teaching me things. he was helping me understand scriptures, which I know the scriptures pretty well now. But now that I step out of the organized part of that, I really feel like I'm able to experience the heart of Scripture more completely. I feel like I don't have to twist anything to fit any particular belief system. Like I can just read Scripture and just let the Spirit interpret it for me. The other great thing is I've developed a lot more tolerance. I can go sit next to anybody at the coffee shop and have a conversation, a spiritual conversation with them, because I am not holding any fingers in anyone's face, not pointing any fingers. I'm just simply observing the moon, just looking at the moon, loving the moon, and enjoying that. I don't feel dogmatic about any particular names to call the moon. I don't feel particularly dogmatic about any box shapes or anything like that, because everybody is on a journey, including myself. And every single one of us is at a different place on that journey. I can't judge you. You can't judge me, because you don't know my experience. I don't know yours. I don't know what's really going on in your head. You don't really know what's going on in my head. We don't know each other's hearts deeply or intimately. We just don't. So I can honor where you are. I can honor where that person is next to me, even though they might be into something that I know nothing about. I went to a place during my journey on the commune tour I did in September. I went to a place that was very yoga centric, and I would say I know very little about that particular stream of thought or worship, which can also become a finger. Just remember that. But I went to a community that was all about that, and when I got there, there was a turtle crossing the road, and I was always looking for animal medicine at each place I went to, and I felt that the turtle was clearly showing himself to me as animal medicine at this particular place. And turtle symbolizes like protection. Its shell is there to protect it or cover it. And I thought, what is it trying to teach me? Do I need to be protected as I go into this place? Is this contrary turtle because it's on the road where it shouldn't be? So I was really like, oh, how should I approach this community? And so I went into the community just kind of, I don't know if I was necessarily guarded, but I didn't want to just like throw myself into it. I was wanting to feel it out, get a little feel for it first. But then as I got to know the people and I relaxed a little bit, I was able to, we spent all kinds of time like worshiping together. I would play my didgeridoos and do like sound healing sessions, sage smudging. I did the things that feel authentic to me, and they did the things that felt authentic to them, like kirtan singing and these forms of dancing and chanting and stuff like that. And we got along great. So I felt like the turtle then, being contrary turtle, what it actually meant was I needed to remove that protection. I needed to exercise tolerance, understanding, compassion. And I think Jesus would have done that. That's the spirit of Christ, or love, you could say. And maybe that's all it is. It's just love and tolerance. And I think that is a religion that doesn't get in the way like a finger. I think that's the moon. That's the shining brightness of light. And the moon is a reflection of that light. And we are the moon. We are the reflection of light. So don't let religion get in your way of being light. And if it is in the way, maybe it's not the best place to be. Or maybe you need to change it. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. That was my experience. I'm really enjoying where I'm at now. I'm glad I got to share that with you. And I did pretty good with the time tonight, 15 and a half minutes. Hopefully the message resonates with you and can bring you some clarity in your life or somehow be useful. Talk to you soon.